Hello everyone and welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about the Mandalorian Boba Fett's Book of Respect or something. It's Star Wars. And before we get into the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel for all of your Star Wars needs. So today I'm pretty much going to be giving my thoughts on the Book of Boba Fett, and I'm not really going to be going in detail and reviewing each episode individually. I'm just going to be giving my impressions as a whole and kind of talking all over the place, but first we're just going to talk about the first 4 episodes of the show, as honestly for me it just kind of melted into one big episode that I really didn't care for. We open up with Boba escaping the Sarlacc pit, which was pretty much expected and was pretty cool to see how he got out of there, and watching him crawl out in his classic armor from the original trilogy covered in slime and dirt. It was just kind of the scene I feel like we've all been imagining happened for so long, and we finally get to see it. And then pretty much right after the scene is where the show splits into 2 parts for me. We have the Tuscan Saga, and then the not-so-criminal streets of Respect, or Tatooine. The Tuscan Saga was honestly not too bad. Granted, I thought it was just really silly. I mean, I think we all did, actually.
Like a panther. Yes?
But this is where we actually see Boba Fett change, and whether or not I like that change, we'll talk about later. But through these mini flashbacks we see while Boba is healing in the Bacta tank, we see what he was up to in the years before the Mandalorian and after Return of the Jedi, living amongst the Tuscan Raiders, at first as a prisoner when he was rescued fresh off the Sarlacc pit, after his armor was robbed by Jawas. And he was kind of a slave forced to dig for these water rock looking things, which actually look pretty appetizing. I would definitely drink it. But he slowly begins to gain the respect of the Tuscan Raiders through helping them with their problems. He helps them kill a giant desert beast while they're digging for the water rocks, and he also helps them take down a train run by the Pikes that has been shooting at their village for a while now, and he also teaches them how to ride speeders.
Like a panther.
And in return, they give him an acid trip and a gaffy stick. And like I said, this stuff was pretty silly and definitely had me laughing out loud, but it was at least something interesting, something we've never seen before. We got to see the more human side of the Tuscan Raiders and how it teaches Boba respect, which he is a huge fan of now. And they just have a genuine relationship with each other, and this is something that's very important in any story, movie, TV show, or anything really. If we don't have characters to care about, we don't care about the show. And then also the Pikes end up killing all the Tuscans, which pretty much sparks Boba's whole plan to make Tatooine a better place. And man, Tuscans really just don't stand a chance in the Star Wars universe. And the first thing I really didn't like about the show is that all these Tuscan moments of Boba bonding with them and growing as a person happen through many flashbacks scattered throughout the 4 episodes. I just think it should have been 1 full episode or even 2 episodes, and then we can see what he's up to in the current day. But speaking of what Boba's doing in the current day, he's pretty much just walking around Mos Espa. And this is the part of the show I really don't like. And I swear these first 4 episodes were comprised of the same 2 shots. Boba sitting in Jabba's palace, talking to somebody, and then him strolling into this stupid cantina. Like, I swear one episode it seemed like they were actually reusing shots. But honestly, I can't even really remember what happened in these episodes because it was just really boring. They just keep talking about a war that's coming instead of showing you the war coming. We don't get to see the streets of Tatooine getting more and more violent and dangerous, so we know that Boba has to make a change. They literally just explain everything to you through conversations between Boba and Fennec. And there really is just no visual storytelling here at all. And then we have a cameo from the Hutts, which kind of makes things interesting. You think, oh, this is kind of where the war is going to start. and maybe the, the crime lord power struggle is really about to begin. But nope, they just decide to leave the next episode. Even after the Hutts use that Wookiee man from the comic you didn't read to try and kill Boba, he's just very respectful and nice to everyone, and hires Black Chrysanthemum and, just says goodbye to the Hutts. What a good man. And that's pretty much all I remember from this episode. Oh, and then we have the part where Boba Fett hires these teenagers to help him in the bathtub. That part was pretty cool. And this was, I think, the first scene where I was literally laughing out loud and asked myself, what the hell am I watching? We just get like a wet, naked Boba Fett getting ripped out of a bathtub and then like hugged by Chrysanthemum. And it's just the most awkward combat and movement I've ever seen. And then all of the cyberpunks roll in like they were just listening to Boba Fett take his bath the whole time. And they just start like poking Black Chrysanthemum. And the whole scene was just too funny. And honestly, probably one of the best parts of the show because of how bad it is and how much it made me laugh. And yeah, and they're actually called the mods, the cyberpunk hipster kids. And honestly, there's nothing I can really say that hasn't already said about these Power Rangers. They just do not belong here. They look out of place. Their acting is just all over the place, and the way they talk is out of the place. Their speeders are out of place, and they're just so cringeworthy. And like we're supposed to care about them. And then they decide to all risk their lives for Boba Fett because he slashed the prices of like the local water. This isn't the crime lord boss I thought we were getting at all. And the mods all participate in probably just the worst chase scene I have ever seen in my life. It is just so slow. It's terrible. It involves characters we don't care about at all. And it's like 6 minutes long. And this whole time, Boba Fett has a jetpack. Just blow them up. Just shoot them. Just shoot them all. Oh, but no, he's respectful now. He can't do that. Even though he murdered Bib Fortuna in cold blood and did not spare those stormtroopers at all either. And then about right after this is where we get like the most cheesiest reveal that a new character is coming with this scene.
How much treasure do we have in reserve?
I have plenty of credits. What I'm short on is muscle.
But you know what? It's fine, because now this is where we switch over to The Mandalorian Season 3, and this episode was freaking awesome. And it's very clear right off the bat. We open up with a new location, with a familiar character, and we instantly get a badass scene of Mando cutting up some people with the Darksaber. And not only is it a great action scene, but we also see Mando struggling to wield the Darksaber. And he actually hurts himself with it, which is clearly setting up the character arc of him learning how to wield the blade, and it was shown, not told. We're already doing so much more than what we've been doing with Boba Fett. And then after this awesome scene, we cut to a very unique planet or ring something that just looks very Star Wars but very new at the same time, and it was such a breath of fresh air. As before, in the past 4 episodes, all we've seen is Tatooine in like 3 different locations. That's it, across 4 episodes. And then we do get a bit of an exposition dump, but we also get to see more of the Mandalorian culture. And we see the way Din gets exiled for removing his helmet and just how religious these Mandalorians are. And we also get a really cool duel between him and Paz Vizsla, which is clearly setting up for Mando Season 3 when and if Din decides to lead Mandalore. Or at least I hope he does. And we also get to see the ramifications of the end of Season 2 of Luke taking Baby Yoda, and Mando struggling with being separated from Grogu. And just the way he looks at the small packaged gift he has for him, and even the fact that he thought of creating armor to protect Grogu, even if he never sees him again, is just a sign that they have a genuine bond, and these are characters we care about. And this is all shown, not told, by the way the little package looks like Baby Yoda. It's so cute. And then the rest of this episode is pretty much just a montage of him building his new ship, because the Razor Crest did get destroyed in the last season of The Mandalorian. But this also just has some great character moments. He's not just fixating on his goal of getting to Grogu, he has some personality, and we get to see that. He's fascinated by the Jawa's ability to scavenge, he has some banter with the BD droid that we get to see, and is clearly having fun flying this new ship around when we see the small Rodian child that was on the transport earlier. And it just shows that Mando is likable and relatable. He's not some static robot who only cares about the plot. He has a personality and he has interests. even if he does try to hide it behind his helmet. And it's just such a nice change of pace compared to Boba Fett, where honestly he just feels like an exposition machine. He only ever talks about the next thing, the next mission, the current problem, and I think it's because the director doesn't know how to show conflict or motivation other than just having the main characters straight up tell you, and it just creates a boring show, which is not the case with this episode of The Mandalorian directed by Bryce Dallas Howard, not Robert Rodriguez. And then we move into the next episode, which honestly is just straight up fan service, but it's fan service done well, at least in my opinion, especially for us hardcore Star Wars fans. We finally get to see Luke Skywalker again, and we get to see him actually training Grogu. So I like that they followed up with the season finale of Mando Season 2, even though I would have preferred if these episodes were in Mando Season 3 and not in the Boba Fett show, but we get to see it here, so I'm happy. And we just get a very Star Wars-y sequence of Luke explaining the Force and the balance of life to his very first student, which feels like an amazing moment for the character, as this is what he'd fought for and believed in throughout the original trilogy, and I just love a good training sequence, what can I say? We also get to see Mando make a very difficult and selfless decision of allowing Grogu to make his own choice in time, even though he's not certain that he'll ever see Grogu again. And yet again, these are the character moments we don't get in the Boba episodes. And we also get to see Ahsoka and Luke interact, which is something the fans have been waiting for a very, very long time. Dave Filoni, he just knows how to use us Star Wars fans. And then at the end of the episode, we get a pretty badass cameo from Cad Bane, making one of the best scenes in the entire show. Also, I just have to say, I feel like the whole series could have opened up with the Cobb Vanth scene at the beginning of this episode. It just tells us everything we need to know. These guys are the bad guys. These guys are trading spice, and that's not good. The people of Tatooine don't want them there. And then there you have it. You understand. You understand the good guys, you understand the bad guys, you understand the motivations, and now we can build from there. Instead, the first 4 episodes of the show, it just segments all of this information in weird flashbacks broken up by boring, irrelevant scenes. So by the time we know what's going on, we don't really care, and by the time we hit the last episode, we kind of forgot, or at least I did. Like this whole video, I've barely even mentioned the Pikes, but they're like the main villain in this, even though it doesn't feel like it. And all of this just leads to a pretty non-climactic ending with no tension because there are honestly no stakes. We know Mando and Grogu aren't gonna die, and Grogu just shows up out of nowhere after the choice that Luke gave him last episode between the armor and the lightsaber. And I'm just really upset that this is how we see these two reunited, just so unceremoniously in such a bad episode and just not even their own show. And we also know that Boba and Fennec aren't gonna die because they're the main characters, so who is there to care about? The mods? These hipsters? I want them to die. And then what, Black Chrysanthemum? Like, I guess he's cool, but there's really no character there. He's just a tough Wookiee. So who are we fighting against and who are we rooting for? We never really see the people of Tatooine struggle or be hurt by the Pikes, so we don't really care. In my opinion, there's just absolutely zero stakes here and none of this fighting really even matters. Oh yeah, and then we see Boba Fett show up on a Rancor, and I just thought it was dumb. Because we never even saw Boba bomb with this Rancor, and I even forgot to mention that, yeah, at one of the episodes, like episode 3 or 4, Danny Trejo shows up and gives Boba Fett a Rancor. And Boba Fett just decides he wants to ride it, and Danny Trejo's like, there's gonna be a lot of training involved, like it's gonna be hard, but no, he just shows up riding the thing like he's been doing it for years, and there's just no payoff because it's like, oh, I guess you referenced that earlier, we never got to see them grow. There's no character arc. Oh yeah, and then we have Cad Bane show up just to get killed like an idiot, and yeah, I don't like this show. But honestly, this doesn't even make sense, because we see Cad Bane mocking Boba Fett, saying he's nothing more than a killer, and that he could never go straight and do the right thing. So how does Boba prove him wrong? By killing him. And there's no relationship between these two characters other than a deleted episode that never even got finished. So again, there's no payoff. It's not like these two have had like a long character arc through the show. That's just not the case. It's just them putting in a character that you know from another show and you care about. So hopefully you care about these two characters you used to care about. And so their fight means something, but it doesn't work in this show because there's no relationship. And I guess really the only payoff we get is we see Boba Fett using the skills taught to him by the Tuscans to actually like take out Cad Bane, but at this point we already know that the Tuscans have had a positive effect on Boba. He's already been redeemed. It's not like for the whole show he's been struggling with still being a killer, still being a bounty hunter, and now the Tuscan lessons have finally set in. No, we've known that the whole time. If anything, he's actually going against his character development by proving that Cad Bane was right and he's just a killer and he could never go straight. It just makes no sense. For me, it was a very disappointing finale with no payoff, no tension, poor action, and poor dialogue. And yeah, whatever this is. All in all, I think the reason this show doesn't work is because Boba has already completed his character arc by the time this show starts. He's already a much better man at the start of the show, and by the ending, how has anything changed? Other than the local water prices being cut in half. And like I said earlier, we never saw the people of Tatooine struggle, so we don't see how their lives are better now that Boba Fett is in charge. And on top of all of that, there's just no motivation or reason to care about these characters, other than the Mandalorian episodes. And for me, that's why the Book of Boba Fett just doesn't work. But these are just my opinions, and I know I've really been bashing the show this entire video, but I definitely don't hate it as much as most or some people do. I still had a decent enough time with it, and if you enjoyed the show, I'm glad for you. And if this version of Boba Fett works for you, then I'm glad for you. You get a new show to love and a new character to love. Or I guess an old character to love more. And at the end of the day, we're all Star Wars fans, and we all have different ideas of what we like and what we don't like. So those are pretty much all my thoughts on the Book of Boba Fett, and if you like these TV series reviews, let me know down below, because in the future, maybe I'll start reviewing more of the Star Wars shows, I'll review The Mandalorian, any movies that come out. Just let me know if you like them down below. So, with all that covered, thank you so much for watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for all of your Star Wars needs, and may the Force be with you.
I am Boba Fett.